Assalamu alaikum students. I hope all of you are fine and doing good. You are welcome to SPSC lessons. In today's lesson we will learn those topics which will help you in solving assignment number 9 of your subject chemistry. Today we will start a new book which is of grade 9 and we will start it from the very beginning. Man was inquisitive from the very beginning. There popped up some questions in the mind of ancient man that what are we made up of, what are things around us made of, or what are the simplest components of wood, rocks and living organisms. These all are age-old questions. Today's world can answer these questions, but the ancient people didn't know much about these things. So they started observing things around them and tried to find out the answers. There were different scientists and philosophers who tried their best to find out the components which were the basic units for different materials in the world. After many researches, they came to understand that everything was made of elemental substances. Now these elemental substances were different for the scientists or philosophers or thinkers of different ages and in different centuries. Let's see the history of these discoveries. But before going into the depths, firstly we will see some important terms. Our topic for today is fundamentals of chemistry. We will see what are the basic words firstly which are used in chemistry. The first of these sight words is substance. Substance is any part of a matter with similar properties. There is atom. Atom is the smallest particle of an element. It is made up of a nucleus which has protons and neutrons, and there are some electrons which revolve around this nucleus in the shells. Then what is nucleus? It is the central part of atom. This is atom and the central part is nucleus. It contains neutrons and protons. Then what is science? Science is that discipline which study the phenomena of nature. It is based on observations, and these observations are then analyzed. After analysis, some predictions are made about the future of the universe. In ancient times, there was a single discipline which was called science, under which we used to study all the phenomena of nature. But later on, for the convenience, scientists divided into three major branches such as biology, chemistry and physics. So out of these three, chemistry is what? It is that branch of science which deals with the matter and the changes undergoing in this matter. In ancient times, there were Greek philosophers which used to think more about the nature and what are the things made up of in the nature. So they concluded that there are four basic elements which are the constituents of everything present in the earth. These are earth, air, water and fire. Earth, air, water and fire. Well known of these Greek philosophers were Empedocles, who was succeeded by Plato, and he was succeeded by Aristotle. This idea was first described by Empedocles, which was then adopted by Plato and then Aristotle. But Aristotle defined it as the basis of difference in characteristics. For example, hot versus cold or dry versus wet. So this is how scientists make progress on carrying out working on the previous scientists or their predecessors. The concept of four elements persisted for more than 2000 years. There was another Greek mathematician and philosopher, Archimedes. He was given a task by his emperor to tell him whether his crown was made of pure gold or not. So he was firstly very confused with the idea that how will he find that whether it is made of pure gold or not. Then he came to know that when a substance is submerged into a liquid, it displaces equal volume of that substance, what is of the liquid, that is equal to the volume of that substance. So he adopted this idea. He weighed the crown and the same mass of pure gold. Then he checked that whether both of these displaces the same volume of a liquid when they are submerged into the liquid. If they displace same volume, then they will be made of same metal. Otherwise, the crown will not be of pure metals. So this is how he found out the idea. Actually, this idea popped up in his mind when he was laying in his bathtub, and the water in the bathtub displaced because of his weight. So this is how science works, and the things are interconnected. In the beginning of 19th century, there was an English scientist, John Dalton, who gave an idea or a theory on the existence of and nature of matter. His theory was known as Dalton's atomic theory. It was comprised of 4 postulates. The first postulate of his theory was that all elements are made of tiny indivisible particles which are called atoms. So his idea of atom was the smallest particle of an element. Second of his postulate was that atoms of a particular element are identical, that is, they are similar copies of each other. They have same mass and same volume. Third of his postulates was that during chemical reactions, atoms combine, separate or rearrange. They combine in simple ratios. For example, hydrogen and oxygen combine to give water. They combine in simple ratios. For example, 2 moles of hydrogen will combine with 1 mole of oxygen. The last of his postulate was that atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. They can just change their arrangements. They can either get separated from a compound or become the part of a compound. So from Dalton's theory, we assume that he was able to explain nicely the concept of combination of elements or atoms, and secondly the law of conservation of mass. But he said that atom is the indivisible particle, which is not true. Later on it was revealed that atoms are made up of more smaller particles, which are electrons, protons and neutrons. Secondly, he said that atoms are identical, which was also proved wrong when isotopes were discovered. Isotopes are atoms of the same element with different atomic masses but same atomic numbers. So Dalton was 50% right in his assumptions and 50% wrong, but still his theory helped the scientists to make further progress in the field of chemistry. You know that science is a very vast discipline, and we divide it and categorize it for our convenience so that we can study a particular nature or particular feature about an element or a matter in a more better way. So that's why we have divided chemistry into 8 major branches. Firstly, let's see what is chemistry. Chemistry is actually the field of science or the branch of science which deals with matter and the changes undergoing in this matter. What is matter? Matter is everything which occupies some space and has some mass. The 8 major branches of chemistry are physical chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, biochemistry, industrial chemistry, nuclear chemistry, environmental chemistry, and analytical chemistry. Let's see what each of these branch deals with. The first branch is physical chemistry, which deals with laws and theories which are supportive in understanding the structure and changes of matter. Let's take an example of acetic acid, and we will apply all the branches of chemistry in studying this single compound. When we will apply physical chemistry to this compound, acetic acid, what can we study about this compound? We can understand the transformation in its state, that can be from gaseous to solid or from solid to gaseous, or we can also use some laws and theories to understand its structure. So this comes under physical chemistry. Organic chemistry is that branch which deals with the compounds of carbon. These are mostly hydrocarbons and their derivatives. This branch of chemistry do not include carbonates, bicarbonates, oxides of carbon, and carbides. Although these are carbon compounds, but they are studied under inorganic chemistry. How can we apply organic chemistry to acetic acid? You see that this is a carbon containing compound. So it is an organic compound, and we see the methods of its preparation and its chemical and physical properties in organic chemistry. The third branch is inorganic chemistry, as the name indicates. This branch deals with all the elements in their compound except organic compounds. Let's see how can we apply inorganic chemistry to acetic acid, which is an organic compound, but still it is made up of different elements. For example, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. As elements, these are studied under inorganic chemistry. So when we study the properties of the constituent atoms or elements of acetic acid, we will study them under inorganic chemistry. The fourth branch is biochemistry. This deals with physical and chemical changes which are going on or which are occurring inside living organisms. A biochemist will study acetic acid. He will analyze the chemical reactions it will undergo inside a living system. Fifth branch is industrial chemistry. It deals with those methods and technologies which are used for preparing useful substances on large scale. How can we apply industrial chemistry to acetic acid? As you know that it is a constituent of vinegar, which is a food flavor, so it needs to be prepared on large scale. So the methods and technologies which are used for preparing acetic acid on large scale will be studied under industrial chemistry. The sixth branch is nuclear chemistry. It deals with the changes that occur in atomic nuclei. This is the nucleus of atom which has protons and neutrons in it. So in radioactive substances, there are maximum changes occurring inside the atomic nuclei. So we study them under nuclear chemistry. What a nuclear chemist will do to acetic acid? He will study the effects of different radioactive radiations, for example alpha, beta, or gamma, on this compound, or the effect of neutrons when bombarded to the acetic acid. The seventh branch is environmental chemistry. Under this branch of chemistry, we deal with chemicals and toxic substances which pollute the environment. And when the environment is polluted, then there are adverse effects on human beings. So those effects are also studied under the same category. what will an environmental chemist or environmentalist will do with this acetic acid? He will study the adverse effects of acetic acid itself or its derivatives on human health and or on the environment. The last main branch of chemistry is analytical chemistry. In this branch, we deal with those methods and instruments which are used for determining the composition of matter, or you can say the purity or impurities present in a compound. So when an analytical chemist or an analyst will study acetic acid, he will determine the percentage composition of the compound or will estimate the melting point or boiling point of that compound. Let's see example 1.1, which is on page number 9 in your book. Here are some statements given and you have to assume that which branch of chemistry studies that particular matter. Example 1 is that photosynthesis produces glucose and oxygen from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight. So guess, photosynthesis is a process which is carried out inside plants and it is a chemical process. So we can say that the branch which will deal with this thing is biochemistry. Second example is that plantation helps in overcoming greenhouse effect. It means that the greenhouse effect is an environmental effect which is reduced by plantation. So we can say that environmental chemistry is that branch which deals with greenhouse effect or which helps in overcoming greenhouse effect. Number 3 is that Haber's process converts large quantities of hydrogen and nitrogen into ammonia. So large quantities of ammonia are prepared by a process or method, Haber's process. So we can say that industrial chemistry is that branch which deals with this. Number 4 is ammonia is a colorless gas with pungent irritating odor. It is highly soluble in water. Ammonia is an inorganic compound and there are some properties of that inorganic compound described here. So we can say that inorganic chemistry is that branch which will deal with these examples. Then fifth example is a chemist performed an experiment to check the percentage purity of a sample of glucose. So percentage purity is an analytical process. So we can say that analytical chemistry is that branch which deals with this examples. Sixth example is that an analyst determines that NO2, nitrogen dioxide, is responsible for acid rain. Acid rain is an environmental effect, so we can say that this is the example of environmental chemistry. Seventh example is chlorofluorocarbon compounds are responsible for depletion of ozone layer. Ozone layer is present in our environment and its depletion is an adverse effects of the chemicals chlorofluorocarbons. So we can say that environmental chemistry is that branch which will deal with these things. The last example is alpha particles, which are helium nuclei. They, when bombarded on nitrogen atom, they release a proton or a proton is emitted. So see, alpha particles are radioactive rays which are bombarded on any atom. So the radioactive rays are studied under nuclear chemistry. This is all about branches of chemistry. I hope this video will help you in solving assignment number 9. See you in the next lesson. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.